Thanks for joining us here on the Bearcats Sports Network. It's time for another edition of Bearcats Unleashed. This is our student athlete series here on our social media platforms. I'm joined today by a member of our softball team, Shelby Summer. Shelby, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Well, Shelby, it was an interesting spring season for you guys, to say the least. You guys started off a little slow, then hit your stride and looked like you were playing your best softball of the year, 7 straight wins before getting ready to start conference. You guys were scheduled to go to Bellarmine University. That doubleheader got canceled. And then from there, everything kind of exploded with COVID. And then your season came to an end. Talk about finding out about that first cancellation and how you guys dealt with the situation of COVID really popping up and taking over our lives.
That week was definitely kind of a whirlwind of emotions. We had been practicing up to the time that we were supposed to leave for Bellarmine and UIndy that weekend. Everything was a go, and then all of a sudden one day Coach Fleming told us that we just weren't going to go that weekend, and then that next week it just all went downhill from there. I think especially for our seniors, it was a very surreal moment, thinking that they possibly may not be able to play again. Luckily, we have 2 out of the 3 seniors being able to come back, which is great. But for me personally, I was astonished that this pandemic had taken over, the United States so fast that we needed to stop playing sports, professional and collegiately, and just all across the board. And I think it was a hard adjustment, because from then on everything started to transition online and whatnot, and it was just a whirlwind of emotions. I couldn't really pinpoint exactly what emotion I felt, but I felt pretty much a lot of them: frustrated, mad, sad, that we were on that, starting to go up and what we were doing, and then it just kind of all fell off the cliff really fast.
It was certainly an interesting 6 months for you. You've had firsthand experience dealing with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about your experience of being in quarantine, really being inside most of the summer. Talk about what you did to work around kind of the quarantines and things like that, and your experience over the last several months.
Well, during the summer, I was very privileged that I have like a at-home gym. So I was able to do all of the lifts, and I live on a lot of acreage back at home. So I was able to run and do all of the necessary preparation for our season. I even had like a net and a tee where I would be able to go and do all of my hitting, and even go to like our park. Eventually opened up the cages. Obviously I don't have any cages at home. So I was able to go to our park and be able to hit a few times there. Moving towards school, I was very thankful I was able to do that over the summer, because there were girls on our team that were not able to do that, period.
Right.
And so transition to coming to school, things were going well, doing a lot of like conditioning on my own and with some roommates. And then I tested positive for COVID. So I was a little halted in that, my conditioning and getting back into softball. I have yet to step on Bearcat field yet this year, but that will be next week that I will finally be able to do that. And I am so excited.
Well, we're certainly glad you've recovered from that. How are you feeling these days? Obviously, you just about recently with COVID. Talk about your health right now.
I'm doing well. I had many of the symptoms that they described for COVID, but I recovered from pretty much all of them, except for my taste and smell are a little iffy. But other than that, I feel pretty good, and I'm ready to get back into the swing of things, no pun intended. But yeah, I'm really excited, and we have the play-in phase that I have to go through where I will take my time getting back to full athletic ability in for softball.
Before we get into jumping back on the field, earlier on you mentioned doing the online classes. You're one of the shining stars academically. You're a 4.0 student. You're a junior now. Um, Talk about that transition. Obviously, you're used to a classroom setting, and then all of a sudden, all your classes move online. How did that affect you, if it affected you, and what kinds of things did you do to make that work in your world?
Well, when I found out that we could possibly have online classes, I was a little uneasy because especially in my upper level math classes, those kind of can tend to be a little hard doing those online, as there are a lot of classes that are very difficult to do online here. But I'm very thankful that actually all of my classes are still in person. So both my math classes and my education, because I am going to be a math teacher, are still online, or are still, excuse me,
Right.
are still in person. And so I'm able to still do kind of normal. It's a little bit of a normalcy compared to some people I know where they have half and half or even all classes online. So
Well, Shelby, great that you were able to handle that and get through that. Um, Now let's look ahead to the semester. You're back on campus. Like you said, it's a bit of normalcy, trying to get back in the swing of things, especially now. Um, Talk about getting ready for this year, the anticipation, since you're a spring sport, obviously, no decisions have been made yet, but you guys want to work kind of full speed ahead to get ready for that season to start, which will start probably in February or March.
yes, the preparation I still feel as though will be the same as any other year unless we're halted otherwise, whatever the school or, you know, the law says that we have to abide by. Um, but I think it'll still be full force ahead. I know Coach Fleming, and I know she will work around whatever guidelines that she has to work around to be able to get us the reps and the practice and the lifts and the conditioning that we need to be prepared for games February, March, depending on when that all starts. Yeah, I think I think she will be ready, and I definitely am ready. I think a lot of us have put in work, as I said, in the summertime. A lot of us had put in a lot of work, and I think hopefully for my last season here at McKendree, I will be able to go out with a bang and show what we were hoping to do last year, this year.
Talk about your leadership role on the team. Like you said, you're going into your final season, your fourth year on the team. You've been starting since your freshman year. And talk about that progression, you being an underclassman, working your way through now where people look up to you on the team for advice, for help, things like that.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool role. I personally have always been kind of a natural leader, and throughout my sports career, I would say, and I've definitely had to work here to assume that role. It's definitely just not given. And I think now where I am today compared to where I was freshman year, I'm really proud of the strides that I've made into taking on that leadership role. And I hope my classmates and even teammates will look up to me as someone that they can I can show by example, and even someone that they can come to and ask for advice, whether softball, school, life related. I think that they know that I'm there for them and wants what's best for them on the field, off the field. So I think that leadership role it's a very special one, and I'm very honored that a lot of people do look up to me for advice and help, and because I once had that leader too who was doing the same for me.
Well, Shelby, that's some great insight, some great answers. First of all, I want to say we're glad you're healthy, you're better, you're on the road to getting back on that field. We can't wait to see you on the field. Thanks for joining us today, and best of luck in your final season with the Bearcats.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
That's been Shelby Summer, member of our softball team. I'm Scott Cummings. Thanks for joining us. And don't forget, as always, it's a great day to be a Bearcat.